I want to talk to you today about the relationship between imitation and innovation. Now, the conventional wisdom is that imitation is bad for innovation. So we usually think that copies undercut and outcompete originals, and even that too much copying can kill a creative field. Just ask the music industry. But what if copying is sometimes good for creativity? What if copying can spark new ideas and spur innovation? So today I want to talk about that idea, and I want to make the case that copying has unappreciated virtues. And if we understand those virtues, we'll understand more about innovation in the 21st century. So let me begin in an unusual place, which is the Academy Awards. In a few months, many of us will watch the Oscars, and for a lot of us, what's most interesting isn't the movies, it's the clothes. We want to see what stars wear as they stroll down the red carpet. And while we're watching their clothes, so too is Faviana. So if you're not familiar with Faviana or one of their customers, they're a firm that specializes in knockoff glamorous gowns. So you can go to their website and, as they say, dress like a star. You can pick out the dress you like in your size, get it sent to you far cheaper than the original. In Faviana's terms, they provide bling on a budget. Now, Faviana's not alone. This is from Us Weekly. You can see many examples of copies and originals, worn not by ordinary people necessarily, but stars. But of course, lots of us wear and buy knockoffs, whether we know it or not. It's a common feature in the fashion industry. Now, is this warning familiar? I try to fast forward through it, and I never can. Now, what this tells us is something important about copying, something most of us already know. Copying is illegal. Our Constitution says that the purpose of copyright law is to promote the progress of useful arts and sciences. And so copyright law is not really about fairness, but about making sure we have lots of creativity. And as a result, we have copyright protection for many creative fields: music, film, this video that's being made right now, et cetera, even software. But one of the things that isn't protected by copyright is fashion. And that makes it possible for firms like Forever 21 to do this. The dress on the right, or maybe it's the left, I can never tell the difference, is the original, and the other one is the copy. The original cost about $400, the copy about $40. Now, the reason Forever 21 can do this is there's no copyright protection for fashion. And what's so interesting about that is that the fashion industry is not dying. In fact, it's thriving. And what's especially interesting is that copying fuels creativity in the fashion industry. Now, let me say that again. Copying fuels creativity. Now, how does that work? It works in a couple of ways, and I'll just touch on two. First, I think we all know that fashion comes in, or styles come into fashion and go out of fashion. Even William Shakespeare knew that. In Much Ado About Nothing, he wrote that the fashion wears out more apparel than the man. It's been around for a long time. But what hasn't been appreciated is that the ability to copy, to legally copy, allows that fashion cycle to turn even faster. And as it turns faster, things go into style faster, and they come out of style faster. And that means designers have to come up with something new, even faster. So in other words, copying serves as a kind of turbocharger for the fashion industry, spinning that creative cycle ever faster. There's another important thing about copying in the fashion industry. One of the things that's central to fashion is trends. And what is a trend, after all, but a series of things that look alike? So in order to have trends, you need to have some copying. Copying enables trends to develop and, again, come in and out of style. So in the fashion industry, copying is essential. Essential to creativity and essential to economic growth. Now, fashion's not alone. Have you ever eaten one of these? Pretty good, right? This was invented, some say, in an expensive restaurant on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, maybe 20 years ago. Today, you can get it at Chili's. The reason is recipes cannot be copyrighted. So a chef invents a delicious dish like a molten chocolate cake, and anyone can reverse engineer it and copy it. And many have. But chefs remain very creative, and in fact, we live in perhaps the most creative era in history for food. Think of another example, football. Now, football plays and formations cannot be copyrighted. Does that stop coaches from continuing to create? No, they keep doing it. So what's interesting about these examples, and there are others, is that they suggest that that link that the FBI warning tells us, that copying is illegal, and it's illegal because if we don't stop it, we'll stop creativity. That link is not quite as solid as you might think. In fact, in many industries, copying and creativity coexist. And in some, like fashion, copying is even a spur to more creativity. And that raises a very important point about the nature of innovation, which is that we usually think about innovation as something that's about big ideas, like Thomas Edison and his light bulb. But in fact, a lot of innovation is about tweaking an existing idea and making it better, making it work even better, refining it, and improving it. Even Thomas Edison was a tweaker. When he invented his light bulb, there were at least a dozen light bulb prototypes already in existence, and he drew upon them. So a lot of innovation is really about tweaking something and making it better. And that's not limited to the past. It's a part of today's world. I want to show you something from a master tweaker, someone Malcolm Gladwell called the greatest tweaker of his generation, Steve Jobs of Apple.
Good artists copy, great artists steal. And we have, always been shameless about stealing great ideas.
Okay, so Steve Jobs wasn't kidding when he said that he was shameless about stealing great ideas. This image at the top is the original computer mouse, which Steve Jobs saw on his famous visit to Xerox PARC research facility in Silicon Valley in the 1970s. Great idea, but it was kind of a lousy execution. And so he took it, and across the bottom you see the early Apple mice, getting slowly better and better, until today we don't even have a mouse, we have a trackpad. And so this, again, illustrates how even great innovators like Steve Jobs work with what's already in existence and build upon it. And to do that, they need to be able to copy. Now, of course, today, we think of Apple as a great innovator, and it is. And the shoe's often on the other foot. So I just returned from Shanghai last night, where you can buy, if you look closely, you'll see this isn't the Apple phone, this is the Peach. Works just as well, but has 2 SIM cards. Now, the great fashion designer Coco Chanel said, copying is the ransom of success. And for Apple, that's turned out to be true. But along the way, Apple relied on tweaking and copying. And I submit to you that if we understand copying better, we'll have a more innovative future. Thank you very much.